the work done by this particular author. So Roald Dahl was a popular children's author of the 20th century. He was born in Wales in the UK, and he initially worked as a salesman, but he also started writing stories for adults and also wrote poems. In fact, television is a very popular poem written by Roald Dahl. But it was his stories for children that really made him very, very popular. His work, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, is the most widely read of his books. In fact, he's also written scripts for many movies.
రోల్డ్ డాల్ అన్న ఆథర్ యూకేలో పుట్టారు, అంటే స్కాట్లాండ్, వేల్స్, ఇంగ్లాండ్ ఉంటుంది, దానిలో వేల్స్లో పుట్టారు. ఆయన పెద్దవాళ్ళకు కూడా రాశారు, పోయమ్స్ కూడా రాశారు, కానీ అన్నిటికన్నా ఎక్కువ పాపులారిటీ ఆయనకి చిల్డ్రన్ స్టోరీస్ రాయడంలో ఆయనకు దొరికింది. చాలా పాపులర్ ఆథర్ పిల్లలతోటి. ఆయన రాసిన చార్లీ అండ్ ద చాక్లెట్ ఫ్యాక్టరీ అన్నది పిల్లలు చాలా ఎంజాయ్ చేసి చదువుతారు. మీరు ఎప్పుడైనా మిస్ అయిపోయారు అంటే ఒకసారి వెళ్ళి అది కూడా చదవండి, ఎందుకంటే చాలా ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తారు. టెలివిజన్ అన్న ఒక పోయం కూడా ఇప్పుడు ఇవాళ కూడా రిలవెంట్ గా ఉన్న పోయం, అది కూడా ఆయననే రాశారు.
Okay, so let's now talk about the story, Uma, because the Umbrella Man is a very interesting story. It's a story of a mother and her daughter and a person who comes with the umbrella. So what's really the mystery about this whole umbrella?
ఈ స్టోరీ ఒక 12-year-old గర్ల్ నరేట్ చేస్తున్నట్టు మనకు వస్తుంది. ఈ అమ్మాయి 12-year-old గర్ల్ అండ్ హర్ మదర్ లండన్కి వెళ్తున్నారు ఒక డెంటిస్ట్ అపాయింట్మెంట్ కోసం. డెంటిస్ట్ అపాయింట్మెంట్ అయిన తర్వాత వాళ్ళు ఒక కెఫేకి వెళ్ళి అమ్మ కాఫీ తాగుతుంది, అమ్మాయి ఏమో బనానా స్ప్లిట్ అంటే అది ఐస్ క్రీమ్, లోపల ఐస్ క్రీమ్ ఉంటుంది, అరటి పండు లోపల ఐస్ క్రీమ్ పెట్టి అది తినేస్తుంది. తర్వాత బయటకు వచ్చేటప్పటికి ఆరు అవుతుంది టైము. అప్పటికి వర్షం పడబోతోంది. అప్పుడు వాళ్ళు సరే టాక్సీ తీసుకుందాము, మన దగ్గర అంబ్రెల్లా కూడా లేదు కదా అని అట్లా ట్రై చేస్తున్నప్పుడు టాక్సీలు ఏం దొరకవు, ఎందుకంటే దానిలో అన్ని ప్యాసింజర్స్ ఉంటూ ఉంటారు. అప్పుడు ఒక ఓల్డ్ మ్యాన్ వస్తారనమాట వాళ్ళ దగ్గరికి. వచ్చి మీరు కొంచెం నాకు హెల్ప్ చేయాలి అట్లా ఇట్లా అంటున్నప్పుడు వాళ్ళ మదర్కి చాలా సస్పిషియస్గా ఉంటుంది. ఏంటి ఈయన వచ్చి నన్ను డబ్బులు అడుగుతున్నాడా, ఎవరు ఈయన అన్నది ఒక సస్పిషన్ చాలా ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది వాళ్ళ మదర్ మైండ్లో. అప్పుడు స్లోగా ఆయన కాన్వర్సేషన్ స్టార్ట్ చేసి ఏమంటారంటే, ఆయన చేతిలో ఒక అంబ్రెల్లా కూడా ఉంటుంది, పెద్ద సిల్క్ అంబ్రెల్లా. ఆయన ఏమంటారంటే, నేను ఇంటి నుంచి వచ్చేటప్పుడు నా వాలెట్ అంటే పర్స్ అది తేవడం మర్చిపోయాను, ఈ వర్షంలో నేను నా కాళ్ళంతా నొప్పేస్తున్నాయి కాబట్టి నేను ఇంటికి వెళ్ళిపోవాలి, ఒక టాక్సీ తీసుకోవాలంటే ఒక్క పౌండ్ అన్నది అక్కడ ఉన్న కరెన్సీ అనమాట. మనకి ఎట్లా రూపీ ఉంటుందో వాళ్ళకి పౌండ్, ఆ ఒక్క పౌండ్ ఉంటే నేను ఇంటికి వెళ్ళిపోతాను అంటారు. వాళ్ళ అమ్మ కొంచెం సస్పిషియస్ గానే ఆయన క్వశ్చన్ చేస్తూ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఆయన అంటాడు, నేను కానీ ఫ్రీగా తీసుకొని మీ దగ్గర ఈ అంబ్రెల్లా మీకు నేను 20 pounds కి తీసుకున్నాను కాబట్టి ఈ అంబ్రెల్లా మీకు ఇస్తాను, ఆ అంబ్రెల్లా తీసుకొని మీరు నాకు 1 pound ఇవ్వండి అంటారు. వాళ్ళ అమ్మ చూస్తుంది, అంబ్రెల్లా కూడా చాలా బ్యూటిఫుల్ గా ఉంది కదా అని. కానీ ఈ అమ్మాయి 12-year-old అమ్మాయి ఏమంటుందంటే, ఇంత మంచి ఆయన పాపం, ఇంత ముసలాయన మమ్మల్ని అడుగుతున్నారు కదా, అమ్మ ఏంటి అంబ్రెల్లా తీసుకొని ఇట్లా చేయడం ఆయనని ఎక్స్ప్లాయిట్ చేసినట్టు అవుతుంది కదా, ఆయనని అడ్వాంటేజ్ తీసుకున్నట్టు అవుతున్నది కదా అని ఇట్లా చూస్తుంది. వాళ్ళ అమ్మ కూడా ఓకే అని మనం చూసి ఆయనను చూసేసి మళ్ళీ అంటది, కాదు మీ అంబ్రెల్లా తీసుకోవడం నాకు కరెక్ట్ అనిపించట్లేదు, నేను ఓన్లీ మీకు 1 pound ఇస్తాను, మీరు వెళ్ళిపోండి అంటారు. అప్పుడు ఆయన అంటారు, నో నాట్ ఎట్ ఆల్ పాసిబుల్, అట్లా ఉండదు, నేను అంబ్రెల్లా ఇస్తాను, మీరు నాకు 1 pound ఇవ్వండి అంటే వాళ్ళ అమ్మకి అప్పుడు కాన్షియన్స్ కూడా కొంచెం క్లియర్ అయిపోతుంది. ఓకే అని అంబ్రెల్లా తీసుకొని ఆయనకి 1 pound ఇస్తుంది. అప్పుడు అమ్మాయికి చెప్తుంది అనమాట, ఎప్పుడు మనం చాలా కేర్ఫుల్ గా ఉండాలి, ఎవరు వాళ్ళు అని మనం బాగా అసెస్ చేసే చేయాలి, లేకపోతే చాలా మంది మనని ట్రిక్ చేస్తూ ఉంటారు, మనని ఫూల్ చేస్తూ ఉంటారు అట్లా అంటుంది. ఆ లెక్చర్ ఇచ్చేటప్పుడు ఈ అమ్మాయి చూస్తుంది, ఆయన టాక్సీ కోసం నిలబడట్లేదు, ఎక్కడో అట్లా పరిగెత్తి వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాడని. అంటది దట్ ఎల్డర్లీ మ్యాన్ ఎక్కడో వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు కదా అంటే వాళ్ళ అమ్మ కూడా డౌట్ వస్తుంది, నాకేమో కాళ్ళు నొప్పి అసలు నడవలేకపోతున్నాను అని అన్నాడు కదా, సడన్ గా వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు కదా అని. సరే అని వీళ్ళు కూడా అంబ్రెల్లా పెట్టుకొని హ్యాపీగా ఉంటారు. కానీ సరే ఈయన ఎక్కడ వెళ్తున్నారు అని ఫాలో చేస్తారు. ఆయన ఇట్లా తిప్పుతారు బాగా, ఆయనకు తెలియదు వీళ్ళు వెనకాల వస్తున్నారని. లాస్ట్కి వెళ్తే ఒక పబ్ అంటే ఏంటి, అక్కడ విస్కీ బియర్ అట్లాంటివి ఉంటాయి కదా, అట్లాంటి చోట ఆయన లోపల వెళ్తారు. వీళ్ళు బయట నుంచుని విండో నుంచి చూస్తూ ఉంటారనమాట, ఏం చేస్తున్నారు ఆయన అసలు అని. అక్కడ ఇంగ్లాండ్ లో కోటు హ్యాట్ అది అట్లా వేసుకుంటారు, ఇట్లాంటి వెదర్ లో ఇంకా కూడా వేసుకుంటారు. ఆ కోటు హ్యాట్ ఒక చోట పెట్టేసి ఆయన బార్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి, అక్కడ వీళ్ళకి వినిపించదు కానీ ఈయన లిప్ మూమెంట్ తోటి తెలుస్తుంది అనమాట. ఆ బార్ మ్యాన్ వెళ్ళి ఒక గ్లాస్ లో ఇట్లా ఒక బ్రౌన్ కలర్ లిక్విడ్ తీసి ఈయనకు పెడతాడు, ఈయన ఒకే దానిలో తాగేస్తాడు, సంతోషంగా ఉంటాడు ఈ ఓల్డ్ మ్యాన్. అప్పుడు అమ్మాయి అనుకుంటుంది, టాక్సీలో వెళ్ళాలని చెప్పారు కానీ ఇప్పుడేమో ఏం చేస్తున్నాడు, ఆ డబ్బులతోటి ఆ 1 pound తోటి ఆయన విస్కీ కొనుక్కున్నాడు అని తెలిసిపోతుంది వీళ్ళకు. అప్పుడు ఏం చేయబోతున్నాడు, ఇంత మ్యాడ్ మ్యానా, మనకి 20 pound అంబ్రెల్లా ఇచ్చేసి 1 pound కి ఆయన తాగుతాడా అని మళ్ళీ ఆయన టక్ అని మళ్ళీ బయటకు వస్తూ ఉంటారు, హ్యాట్ వేసుకొని కోట్ వేసుకొని. అక్కడ చాలా అంబ్రెల్లాస్ ఉంటాయి అన్నమాట, వర్షాకాలం కదా. అక్కడ ఒక అంబ్రెల్లా కూల్ గా తీసుకొని బయటకు మళ్ళీ వస్తాడు, వీళ్ళు మళ్ళీ ఫాలో అవుతారు, అట్లా హైడ్ చేసుకొని ఫాలో అవుతే ఆయన మళ్ళీ వేరే వైపు వెళ్ళి అక్కడ వెళ్ళి ఇంకో ఆయనకి ఇట్లాగే 1 pound కి అమ్మేసి మళ్ళీ ఈ బార్కే రాడు, ఇంకో బార్కి వెళ్తూ ఉంటాడు. అప్పుడు అమ్మకు అర్థమవుతుంది అనమాట, ఈయన మనల్ని ట్రిక్ చేశాడు, ఎవరిదో అంబ్రెల్లా తీసుకొని మన దగ్గర 20 పౌండ్ అట్లా అని చెప్పేసి మన దగ్గర 1 పౌండ్ తీసుకొని. అంటే సారాంశం ఏంటంటే ఎక్కడైనా మిమ్మల్ని ట్రిక్ చేయొచ్చు అన్నది, పొలైట్ గా ఉండొచ్చు, చాలా స్వీట్ గా మాట్లాడొచ్చు, కానీ మీరు ట్రిక్ అయిపోతారు ఒక్కొక్కసారి అన్నది సారాంశం.
So the interesting part is that there is a twist at the end of the story. So the author has made you interested in the story, remain interested in the story till the very end. This other interesting thing is that the title of the story is called The Umbrella Man, but the interesting and the ironic part is that the umbrella does not belong to the man. So it's interesting that he has called it The Umbrella Man. So I'm going to go through the story, the important portions of the story. Sometimes it also can come as an excerpt, and then questions can be asked from depending on the excerpt of the story. So I'll go through the important stories, and we will also mark the keywords. So please keep the book with you. Also have a pencil and a pen and a notebook in which you can write down the key points and also underline the keywords. Adi chala important. Now, I am going to tell you about a funny thing that happened to my mother and me yesterday evening. So, the girl is telling the story in first person, and she's telling you a story which happened yesterday evening. So, very immediacy is there.
అప్పుడే జరిగినట్టు అనమాట. మనకి నిన్న జరిగిన విషయం అండి నేను మీకు చెప్తున్నాను అంటే చాలా కాన్వర్సేషనల్ టోన్. ఇది చిల్డ్రన్ స్టోరీ కదా, అందుకని ఆయన స్టైల్ కూడా చాలా సింపుల్ గా ఉంటుంది, కాన్వర్సేషనల్ గా ఉంటుంది.
And she's telling you right at the beginning, so that she's preparing you for what the story is, because she says it's a funny thing. About a funny thing that happened to my mother and me. So she sees it as a funny thing irrespective of what happened later on, because they do feel that they were cheated in a sense, though they got a good umbrella in return. But the little girl is actually finding the whole episode very funny. I am 12 years old and I am a girl. My mother is 34, but I am nearly as tall as she already. So she's giving a lot of detail. The age, how they look, how she is in terms of height as her mother. Yesterday afternoon, my mother took me to London to see the dentist. He found one hole. It was in the back tooth, and he filled it without hurting me too much. So you see the amount of detail that Roald Dahl is giving as part of a children's story.
అంటే పళ్ళకి రిపేర్ చేసుకొని వచ్చాను, నాకేం నొప్పేం పడలేదు. తర్వాత ఐస్ క్రీమ్ కూడా దాని రీజన్ ఉండొచ్చు, ఎందుకంటే ఎప్పుడు ఆఫ్టర్ టూత్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ డెంటిస్ట్రీ దే ఆస్క్ యూ టు ఈట్ సంథింగ్ కోల్డ్, అందుకనే బనానా స్ప్లిట్ ఐస్ క్రీమ్ తింటదమ్మా.
After that we went to a cafe. I had a banana split and my mother had a cup of coffee. By the time we got up to leave, it was about 6 o'clock. Okay. When we came out of the cafe, it had started to rain. So they're creating the setting for the umbrella. We must get a taxi, my mother said. We were wearing ordinary hats and coats and it was raining quite hard.
అంటే రెయిన్ కోట్ లాగా కాదు, మనము నార్మల్ వెదర్ కి ఎట్లా వేసుకుంటామో అట్లాంటి డ్రెస్ వేసుకున్నారు, ఎందుకంటే వీళ్ళకు అంబ్రెల్లా కావాలి అన్న ఒక నెసెసిటీని చెప్పడానికి కోసం. తడిచిపోతున్నారు లేకపోతే.
So it also kind of conveys what kind of social background they come from, because the mother says, I wish we had a car with a chauffeur ante driver, that we had
luxury cars lo usually chauffeur antaru, driver anakunda chauffeur antaru, dani spelling kuda meer chuskondi.
Yeah. And just then a man came up to us. He was a small man and he was pretty old, probably 70 or more. So 12-year-old, 34-year-old, and he's double the mother's age, about 70 years old. So look at the amount of detailing that Roald Dahl has given in this story.
అంటే మనకు ఒక సింపతి కూడా రావడానికి కోసం, చాలా ఎల్డర్లీ మ్యాన్,
and he was also small in height. He raised his hat politely. That's a very British way of kind of showing respect, when you take off the hat and kind of bend the head a little, and said to my mother, excuse me, I do hope you will excuse me. He had a fine white mustache and bushy white eyebrows and a wrinkly pink face. Detail, please underline these keywords: white mustache, bushy white eyebrows and a wrinkly pink face. Please remember this great description that Roald Dahl has given. He was sheltering under an umbrella which he held high over his head. So please remember these details. Now then he asked them for a favor.
In this line where it says, yes, my mother said, very cool and distant. అంటే చాలా ఫ్రెండ్లీగా లేదు, అమ్మ ఏమో ఓకే చెప్పండి మీరు అన్నట్టు అట్లా అడిగారు అనమాట.
So then the daughter says, I saw my mother looking at him suspiciously. Suspiciously is a key word, please underline it. She's a suspicious person. This is what her daughter also thinks. My mother, she's especially suspicious of two things: strange men and boiled eggs.
అంటే ఒక ఫనీ ఒక డిస్క్రిప్షన్ అనమాట. బాయిల్డ్ ఎగ్స్ కి ఎందుకు ఫనీ ఇదిగా ఉంటారంటే, తను అంటే బాయిల్ ఎగ్ అయిన తర్వాత దాన్ని కట్ చేసేసి లోపల ఇట్లా స్పూన్ తోటి చూస్తుందట, లోపల నుంచి ఎలిక ఏమైనా వస్తుందేమో అని. అది అందుకని అట్లా చూస్తుంది. జస్ట్ టు సెట్ అ ఫనీ టోన్ ఆర్ ఎ హ్యూమరస్ టోన్ టు దిస్, లైట్ హ్యూమరస్ టోన్.
And with strange men, she has a golden rule which says the nicer the man seems to be, the more suspicious you must become. So any man you don't know, she says, if they are being very nice to you, you actually must be more suspicious.
అదే మీ అమ్మ ఫాదర్ కూడా చెప్తూ ఉండొచ్చు, ఎవరైనా చాలా మంచిగా మీతోటి ప్రవర్తిస్తే మీరు కొంచెం జాగ్రత్తగా ఉండండి, ఎందుకు వాళ్ళు అట్లా ఉంటున్నారు అన్నది ఆలోచించాలని చెప్తారు మీకు సేఫ్టీ చెప్పేటప్పుడు కూడా.
So this old man was particularly nice. He was polite, he was well spoken, he was well dressed, he was a real gentleman. And the reason I knew he was a gentleman was because of his shoes. So just see the amount of detail, mustache, the color of his face, even the eyebrows that he has, the amount of, and it also shows that this girl is very sharp in very observation. In her observation, she's very sharp. So she says, because of his shoes, I knew he was a gentleman. You can always spot a gentleman by the shoes he wears, was one of my mother's favorite sayings. This man had beautiful brown shoes.
And this also shows that 12-year-old child who is very influenced by the mother in outlook, in deciding who is a good person, who is a bad person, and how do you judge that. That usually happens kada. పిల్లలు వాళ్ళ అమ్మ ఎట్లా నేర్పిస్తే అట్లా కొంచెం వాళ్ళ మన సైకాలజీ కూడా అట్లాగే ఉంటుంది అన్నట్టు.
The truth of the matter is, the little man was saying, I have got myself into a bit of a scrape as in a bit of a trouble. I need some help, not much, I assure you. It's actually nothing, but I do need it. You see, madam, old people like me can become terribly forgetful. So he's kind of building up the base for what he's going to say. My mother's chin was up and she was staring down at him along the full length of her nose. So it's almost like a long nose she has, and she was staring at him, still looking very suspiciously and not in a very friendly manner.
దానిలో ఒక వర్డ్ యూజ్ చేశారు, ఫ్రాస్టీ నోస్డ్ స్టేర్ ఆఫ్ మై మదర్. ఫ్రాస్టీ అంటే నీళ్ళేమో ఐస్ అయినప్పుడు ఫ్రాస్ట్ అంటారు దాన్ని. ఫ్రాస్ట్ అంటే చాలా కోల్డ్ ఇదిగా, అంటే వార్మ్ గా లేకుండా, వార్మ్ అనేది ఫ్రెండ్లీ అన్నమాట, కోల్డ్ అంటే చాలా డిస్టెంట్ గా ఉండడం.
So it was a fearsome thing, this frosty nosed stare as in looking at somebody without blinking your eyes, of my mother. Most people go to pieces completely when she gives it to them. Most people don't particularly feel very comfortable. They're actually a little scared when she actually looks at them.
Go to pieces అంటే వాళ్ళు అసలు వాళ్ళ స్టెబిలిటీ
feel rattled,
వాళ్ళు రాటిల్డ్ అయిపోతారు అన్నమాట.
I once saw my own headmistress began to stammer and simper like an idiot when my mother gave her a really foul, frosty noser. That her own headmistress of her school itself began to stammer. When you feel afraid, feel scared, your sentences don't form very easily. That kind of a thing. So the headmistress began to stammer. So the girl also has a good memory. She remembers that particular incident from what she said. He gave a gentle smile, but the little man on the pavement with the umbrella over his head did not bat an eyelid. He gave a gentle smile and said, I beg you to believe, madam, that I am not in the business of stopping ladies in the street and telling them my trouble. So he's trying to
convince them that I am a good man. Usually cheyanamma, నాకు ఇవాళ ఇట్లా పొరపాటు అయిపోయింది, ఫస్ట్ టైం నేను ఇట్లా మర్చిపోతున్నాను, కాబట్టి మీరు కొంచెం హెల్ప్ చేయాలని చెప్తున్నారు.
Then I felt quite embarrassed by my mother's. The mother is still sharp. She says, I should hope not. She's that I hope that's the case. So I felt quite embarrassed by my mother's sharpness. I wanted to say to her, oh mommy, for heaven's sake, he's a very old man and sweet and polite and he's some sort of trouble, so don't be beastly to him. So beastly is like an animal, so she feels that her mother is almost having the aggression of an animal. So she wants to tell her mother that calm down, don't be like that kind of a behavior with this old man.
He's such a nice man. అంటే యూజువల్లీ అవుతుంది కదా, పిల్లలు అమ్మ కరెక్ట్ గా బిహేవ్ చేయట్లేదు, మా స్కూల్లో వచ్చినప్పుడు చాలా షార్ప్ గా మాట్లాడుతున్నారు మా ఫ్రెండ్స్ తోటి, అట్లా ఒక ఫీలింగ్ ఉంటుంది. సిమిలర్లీ ఇట్స్ a 12-year-old అన్నమాట. సో షీఈస్ టెల్లింగ్ హర్, షీఈస్ లుకింగ్ అట్ హర్ మదర్ అండ్ సే, ఇంత రూడ్ గా అవసరమా.
So the little man shifted his umbrella from one hand to the other. I have never forgotten this before. So he's now trying to say that he has forgotten that wallet at home. So he's not having the money to hire a taxi and go back home when it is already raining very hard. So he says, my wallet, I must have left it in my other jacket. Again, the mother, the word uses sternly. Please underline it. So she's still cold, frosty. So if you have to use the words for a mother, frosty, nosed, cold, sternly, that's the kind of adjectives which have been used for the mother. I must have left it in my other jacket. Isn't it the silliest thing to do? Are you asking me to give you money? The mother asked. Said, oh good gracious me, not. Heaven forbid, I should never ever do that. then what are you asking? My mother said, do hurry up, we are getting scooters in. So the mother is very impatient, she's not very friendly. She's not having the time to kind of listen to this man's story. So she says, hurry up because we are getting drenched in the rain.
అక్కడ ఒక వర్డ్ యూజ్ చేశారు, soak to the skin, అంటే చాలా తడిచిపోతున్నాము అన్నది అర్థం అక్కడ.
Yeah, I know you are, and that's why I'm offering you the umbrella of mine to protect you and to keep forever. If only what? If only you would give me in return a pound for my taxi fare just to get me home. So now he says, I know you're getting drenched, so that's why I'm offering you this umbrella to keep it with yourself forever. If in return, if you can give me £1 so that I can use that to hire a taxi and go back home. My mother was still suspicious. See, the word suspicious has been used continuously by the daughter for the mother. If you had no money in the first place, and how did you get here? She's asking him questions now. She's cross-questioning him. I walked. Every day I go for a lovely long walk and then I summon a taxi to get me home. I do it every day of the year. So he has his answers ready. She's asking him the right questions, but he also has his answers ready because as we realize later, he's a seasoned liar. So he says, every day I walk, I come here and then I summon a taxi in order to go back home. So why don't you walk home now? My mother said. Oh, I wish I could. I do wish I could, but I don't think I could manage this on these silly old legs of mine. I've gone too far already.
చాలా నడిచాను కాబట్టి నేను నడవలేను అని ఆయన చెప్పేస్తున్నారు అనమాట. తను ఆలోచిస్తుంది, ఈయన కరెక్ట్ చెప్తున్నాడు. చూయింగ్ హర్ లోవర్ లిప్ అంటే థింకింగ్ అనమాట.
She's beginning to melt a little. Melt a little means she's beginning to feel a little sympathetic. కొంచెం sympathy అయింది. So she's kind of thinking that okay, maybe he's telling the right story. And the idea, and the second reason is two reasons. One, she's feeling a little sympathetic because of all the story, then the image of the old man. And third, the idea of getting an umbrella to shelter under must have tempted her a good deal. She also, because umbrella is good quality, for £1 to get that umbrella.
He also sells that to her. He says it's lovely, it's of silk, and it cost me £20. And he says that I'd rather give my umbrella and get home very quickly because that's not what I want. And that's when the mother goes for the purse anamata. She goes for the purse. Clasp for purse antunaru. అంటే అది దానికి ఒక బక్కలు ఉంటుంది కదా, దాని దగ్గరికి పోతుంది బక్కలు ఓపెన్ చేయడానికి కోసం. షీ సా మీ వాచింగ్ హర్, అంటే నేను ఇప్పుడు ఇట్లా చూస్తున్నాను మా అమ్మని స్టర్న్ గా, ఎందుకు ఇంత ఆయన చెప్తున్నప్పుడు మీరు అడ్వాంటేజ్ తీసుకుంటున్నారా అన్నది నెక్స్ట్ పారాగ్రాఫ్ లో వస్తున్నాను.
సో అగైన్ నౌ ఇట్స్ అ డాటర్ హూ ఇస్ గివింగ్ హర్ one of my own frosty nosed looks. So this frosty nosed is a phrase which has been used quite often by Roald Dahl in this particular story.
Disapproval anamata.
It conveys disapproval, that you do not like what is being done. Earlier by the mother and now by the daughter. So now listen, mummy, I was telling her, you simply must not take advantage of tired old men in this way. It is a rotten thing to do. Rotten.
She is not saying all this. ఇది మనకి ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తున్నారు ఆ లుక్ లో ఏముంది అన్నది.
And it is a rotten thing. Rotten is a very strong word. Rotten is something which is decayed, which is spoiled, and she's
very bad thing
it's
to
a very bad thing and a negative thing to do. My mother paused and looked back at me. Then she said to the old man, I don't think it's quite right that I should take an umbrella from you worth £20. So the cost of the umbrella is £20, and in return she has to give just £1. So in that sense, she thinks, okay, she's tempted by the whole idea. But she says, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I would much rather give you just a taxi fare and be done with it. I'll just give you that £1. No, it's out of the question. I would not dream of it. Not in 1 million years. I would never accept money from you like that. Take the umbrella, dear lady, and keep the rain off your shoulders. Because the man is actually looking for that £1. So he is saying, I will never take that £1 from you and not give you the umbrella. So you need that umbrella and I will give it to you.
And he is saying that I'm a very good man, very honest man, and I won't take money just like that from you.
So the mother now gives the daughter a triumphant sideways look. So she is looking at her in a very triumphant. See, he's the one who is giving me an umbrella, not me. I am not trying to take it from her. I am not trying to cheat him. I am not trying to take advantage. He's the one who wants to give me the umbrella. So it's that triumphant sideways kind of a look. And he took it. She fished. So there you are. She was telling me, you are wrong. He wants me to have it. She fished into her purse and took out a £1 note. She held it to the little man. He took it and handed her the umbrella. He pocketed the £1, raised his hat again, gave a quick bow and thank you, madam, thank you, and he was gone.
Fished అన్న వర్డ్ అగైన్ చాలా సామాన్లు ఉన్నప్పుడు ఒక చిన్నది తీయడానికి ఫిషింగ్ అంటారు.
Come under me, keep dry, darling, my mother said. Aren't we lucky? I never had a silk umbrella before.
She's pleased now.
So she's pleased, and also it shows that they're kind of middle class. They never had a silk umbrella, which is something which is associated more with rich people. I couldn't afford it, she says. So it kind of gives you a sense of the economic status of this particular family, the mother and daughter, not very well off. So why were you so horrid to him in the beginning? She still says in the beginning that her mother was not very friendly and not making the person comfortable. I wanted to satisfy myself that he was not a trickster. Trickster as in a fraud, somebody who's out to cheat. And I did. He was a gentleman, and I'm very pleased, I'm very tired. So she thinks that she has got a good deal, that she has not been cheated. But later on we realize that she's the one who has been cheated in a different way.
But she changed her mind about this old man anamata. First chala suspicious ga undi, ippudemo chala manchi ayina, actually chala gentleman. Ayina titled gentleman ga kuda undochu antadi. Titled ante akkada knights atla okoka sir anadanta istaru titles, koncham noble people ki, koncham manchi class of people ki atla unna gentleman ante tana abhiprayam full change ayipoyindi.
Yeah. And a real gentleman, she went on, wealthy too, otherwise he wouldn't have had a silk umbrella. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a title person, Sir Harry Goldsworthy or something like that.
Manchi peru untadi annattu anukuntunnaru.
Yes, mummy, this will be a very good lesson to you. Never rush things, always take your time when you are summing someone up. So she's giving advice which is very ironic. Okay, as we will learn later, that she's giving advice to her daughter that you should always behave in such a way, you should not kind of immediately come to conclusions, you should ask the right questions and then take your decisions. Then the daughter says, there he goes, see, another way. She says, he's crossing the street. Goodness, mummy, what a hurry he's in. So, because earlier he had said old legs, he can't walk and all that, but look at the hurry with which he's walking so fast.
Tired ga unnanani chepparu, ippudemo chala almost parigettelaga ayina hurryga velipothunaru.
Next paragraph lo, there is a particular phrase, dodge nimbly in and out of the traffic. Dodge as in, when you're with a lot of traffic and you're dodging the traffic cars and you're just running fast,
avoiding any obstruction but moving very fast. Adanamata nimbly ante. And
nimbly ante, it's also quick footed. You're kind of moving very fast. He doesn't look very tired to me. So they are looking at him and they're kind of saying, he doesn't look very tired to me.
Why did he say that to us?
Why does he say that? So then they decide that what to do. Should we take a taxi and go back home, or should we follow the old man? Because she's not feeling very happy about what has happened. Because just 1 minute before, she has given him a good certificate that he could be a titled person, Sir Harry Goldsworthy or some name like that. So she sees him in a terrific hurry, that he was bustling along the footpath, sidestepping the other pedestrians and swinging his arms like a soldier on the march. Like this, he's walking very, very fast, almost with a sense of purpose, with a lot of energy and with a sense of purpose that he wants to do something immediately. He's up to something. My mother said stony faced. So frosty nosed and now stony faced. Stony faced ante no expression. No expression and looking not happy, not pleased, a bit of anger. She
wants to find out what happened.
And so then she says, but I'm going to find out. So she also kind of takes her daughter's arm and follows him. So then they are kind of following him, and we came to the corner and turned right. The little man was about 20 yards ahead of us. So he's not very far off. He was scuttling along like a rabbit. A rabbit is an animal which
small kind of steps and jumps very fast.
So it shows a particular speed of that old man. And we had to walk very fast to keep up with him. The rain was pelting down harder than ever now, and I could see dripping from the brim of his hat onto his shoulder. So they could see that it's raining very hard from his hat. It's kind of dripping on his shoulders. But we were snug and dry under a lovely big silk umbrella. So because of his umbrella, they were actually dry and snug. Snug means again, comfortable. Sense of comfort. So then they say, I don't care. Then the daughter says, what if he turns around and sees us following him? The mother says, I don't care what he thinks. So mother is not very kind of bothered about, what others will think. She wants to do what she thinks is right. He lied to us. He said he was too tired to walk any further, and he's practically running us off our feet. He's a bare-faced liar. Bare-faced ante with a straight face lying. That is called bare-faced. He's a crook.
Crook ante vedava.
Yeah. You mean he's not a titled gentleman? So now she kind of confronts, earlier you said he could be a Sir Harry Goldsworthy or something. So you are now saying that he's not a titled gentleman. And the earlier phrase, running us off our feet, is, running faster than us. My mother is not happy with that question. She says, be quiet. At the next crossing, the little man turned right again. Then he turned left, then right, I'm not giving up now. My mother said, he has disappeared. I cried. Where has he gone now? He went in that door. I saw him into that house. Good heavens, it's a pub. Pub, as we explained earlier, is a place where you can have liquor. It was a pub. In big letters right across the front, it said the Red Lion. One of the questions that could be asked is that, what is the name of the pub where the old man disappeared? It's called the Red Lion. And it was written in big capital letters. You are not going in, are you, mummy? The daughter is not very happy with whatever is happening. No, we'll not go into the pub. We'll watch it from outside.
And also youngsters don't go into pubs. I mean, she's a minor girl.
Yeah. Right? So there was a big plate glass window along the front of the pub, and although it was a bit steamy on the inside, so they could see from outside. So what did they see outside? They identified the person out there, and they saw that it was full of people, a lot of cigarette smoke, and the little old man was there right in the middle. He had removed his coat, he had removed his hat, and he was going towards the bar counter, the barman, and he placed both his hands and spoke to him, and they were trying to read his lip movements as to what he is doing. And then they saw that a small glass was brought with a brown color liquid, which was obviously alcohol, and he placed that £1 note which the mother had given on the counter as payment. That's my pound, the mother hissed. Hissed as in slightly that snake is the...
And an angry snake chase sound pair hissed.
Kind of a thing. That's my pound. It's almost like a whispering. By golly, he's got a nerve. He's got a nerve means he's rather, how
daring and
how cheeky of him, how daring of him to do something like this. What's in the glass, I asked. Obviously a 12-year-old girl doesn't know. She says whiskey. My mother said neat whiskey. That is, without
no water.
Mixing any water. The barman did not give him any change from the pound. That must be a treble whiskey, my mother said. What's a treble? 3 times in normal measure. That is, a treble whiskey is that, when you kind of get 3
triple
times.
And treble are both interchangeable words.
And here, obviously, it means that, he didn't give any change, means that the entire glass cost £1. And the little man picked up the glass and put it to his lips. He tilted it gently, then he tilted it higher, and he drank it till the last drop.
Expensive drink
And in one shot, he finished off the entire drink. That's a jolly expensive drink. That's a very expensive drink. It's ridiculous. Fancy paying £1 for something to swallow in one go. So the mother is simply not approving. She doesn't like it at all for 2 reasons. One, to pay £1 for something to swallow in one go. And the second and the more important reason that he has cheated her, and he has paid that £1 that he took from her in order to pay for the thing. So for 2 reasons, she's angry with that old man.
But the daughter will say, it's not for £1. In fact, he has paid £20, isn't it? He gave us also an umbrella.
Yeah. Oh, so it did. He must be mad. So the mother thinks, of course, he gave us a £20 umbrella. So he must be mad, crazy. The little man was standing by the bar with an empty glass in his hand. He was smiling now and a sort of a golden glow of pleasure. Golden glow means he's looking very happy and, glowing.
After having a drink.
Was spreading over his round pink face. I saw his tongue come out to lick the white mustache as though searching for that one last drop of that precious whiskey. So it's obviously someone
enjoying
his drink. Slowly, he turned away from the bar, and now the mother and the daughter see that he turns away from the bar and edged his way back through the crowd to where his hat and coat were hanging. Because usually at the entrance to the bar, because especially when it's raining, you don't like to go with wet clothes. So you take out the coat, you take out the hat, and you put it at the entrance to the umbrella.
That is usually the practice in many Western countries.
In
you take off your hat and your coat outside and then walk inside with your normal clothes.
He put on his hat, he put on his coat at the entrance. Then in a manner so superbly cool, now you see the superbly cool and casual that you hardly noticed at all, he lifted from the coat rack one of the many wet umbrellas hanging there and off he went.
అంటే తను చాలా కూల్ గా అక్కడ నుంచి ఇంకొక అంబ్రెల్లా వెట్ అంబ్రెల్లాని తీసుకొని అట్లా వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు అనమాట. అంటే
as though it belonged to him. As though it belonged to him, without arousing any suspicion. Nobody should get suspicious that he's walking away with someone else's umbrella.
Do you see that? My mother shrieked.
Did you see what he did?
అంటే వేరెవరిదో అంబ్రెల్లా ఇట్లా ఎత్తుకొని వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాడు అన్నది వాళ్ళ మదర్కి చాలా షాక్ అన్నమాట.
So she says, he's coming out. So we lowered our umbrella to hide our faces and out from under it. Out he came, but he never looked in our direction. He opened his new umbrella over his head and scurried off down the road the way he had come. So that's his little game, that he steals the umbrella from the rack, goes and gives it to somebody for £1 to come here and drinking all over again. Neat, I said, super. So the little girl is almost appreciative of
the con game,
the cheating that the old man does. We followed him back to the main street from where he had first met him. We watched him as he proceeded with no trouble at all to exchange the new umbrella for another pound note. This time it was with a tall, thin fellow who did not even have a coat or hat. As soon as the transaction was completed, our little man trotted off down the street and was lost in the crowd. This time he went in an opposite direction to another pub.
ఎక్స్పర్ట్ అన్నమాట. ఇట్లాంటి దాన్ని చేయడంలో కూల్ గా చేస్తున్నారు. ఎక్స్పర్ట్
and not at the same place.
అదే ప్లేస్ కి వెళ్ళలేదు, అదే బార్ కి కూడా వాపస్ వెళ్ళట్లేదు. ఎందుకంటే అక్కడ వాళ్ళు ఎవరో ఎత్తుకెళ్లారు కదా అంబ్రెల్లా అని.
If someone notices, yeah.
So he doesn't want to be caught.
So you see how clever he is. He never goes to the same pub twice. He could be doing this all night. Yes, my mother said, of course, but I'll bet he prays like mad for rainy days. But he can do this cheating only on rainy days. You know, it has to rain for him to do this, steel umbrellas, silk umbrellas, to do this game. So that's the nice little twist that Roald Dahl has brought at the end of the story. So the big
surprise element, కోపం ఏం రాలేదు వాళ్ళకు. అయ్యో ఇట్లా చీట్ అయిపోయాం కదా అని ఒక, that's why she called it first itself a funny story. They are not saying that we were so angry with what happened, but they just thought, oh my god, he was so smart about the way he did it, though didn't approve of it.
They didn't approve of it, so they lost their $1, but they got a $20 nice silk umbrella in return. But at the end of the story, it was also a case where, you know, they had been taken for a ride. They had actually fallen for the old man's story, in the sense that, you know, whatever he said, they believed it initially after feeling a little suspicious. So what you need to do is to, we will be looking at the questions in another video. We'll be doing all the stories questions, but a couple of quick points. You need to know the description of the three people, the daughter, the mother, and the old man in great detail. Mark all the keywords, include it in the answers whenever you are asked the question in the examination paper. 2, you also need to know the entire theme what we discussed about the theme of cheating and the theme of, you know, trickery, you know, of the old man, in a sense, being a little clever and doing this little trick in order to ensure that he has his drink every day, and especially on every rainy day.
సో మనము పారాగ్రాఫ్స్ బాగా జ్ఞాపకం పెట్టుకుంటే యూజువలీ ఎట్లా వస్తుందంటే, ఆ పారాగ్రాఫ్ లో వచ్చి మిమ్మల్ని డిస్క్రిప్షన్ అడగొచ్చు. 1 అది జ్ఞాపకం పెట్టుకోవాలి, ఎవరు వీళ్ళు, ఎక్కడ వచ్చారు, ఎందుకు వచ్చారు, ఆయనని ఎట్లా కలిశారు, అవన్నీ మీరు జ్ఞాపకం పెట్టుకోవాలి. సింపుల్ సెంటెన్సెస్ లో రాస్తే కూడా సరిపోతుంది. అండ్ కాంటెక్స్ట్, మీకు స్టోరీ చదివేశారు అనుకోండి, ఇప్పుడు విన్నారు కాబట్టి మీకు గుర్తుంటుంది ఇట్లా జరిగింది అనేది. అది సింపుల్ సెంటెన్సెస్ లో రాసుకోవడం. మనం ఇంకొక వీడియోలో ఇట్లా క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇట్లా వస్తున్నప్పుడు మనం ఎట్లా ఆన్సర్ చేయాలి అన్నది కూడా చూస్తాం.
Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed the story. That's very important. I hope you have also understood the story very well. And we will be dealing with the questions in a separate video. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.